what are the factors? Sorry, what are the factors that are going to affect H? What might be the factors that would affect H? What can affect H?
Ma'am, PPT.
External.
We can't see.
Okay. What is that? Someone told something?
Ma'am, we can't see the PPT.
Oh, sorry. No? Is that clear? Taisir, is that clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Now the liquid is going to rise in the capillary tube. Capillary tube, any tube which has a very small bore in that sense, very small opening, right? Immediately the liquid will rise to a certain height. Now, what are the factors that might affect H? You just, whatever you know, you people can tell. Then we'll see. Once we derive, let us see. What is that? I can't hear properly. What is that?
Change in pressure, maybe.
Okay, change in pressure.
Pressure might be different.
Okay, change in pressure, fine. Anything else, boys?
Ma'am, the density of the liquid.
Fine, density of the liquid. Okay, fine. Next. Next.
Can you just invite Muzammil to the class?
Okay. Anything else? Just think. Think what else could be the other factors?
This volume of possibility.
Which one?
Volume. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, volume in that sense, volume of what?
Volume of the liquid.
Volume of the liquid indirectly. Is it Muzammil? Muhammad Muzammil, is that correct, boss?
No, Muzammil.
Muzammil?
Muzammil Khan.
Ma'am, team's name is Pathan.
Okay.
Muzammil Khan.
It's not there. This one. Must tell me what are the factors. Okay, some factors are correct. What might be the other factors? Density of the liquid. Will gravity, if you perform this experiment on moon as well as on any other surface, your gravity will play an important role. Will it rise to a greater extent in moon compared to Earth?
Yes.
It will rise.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Let us see that. Then what else? What are the other factors? Only this much you know. Okay, we'll check what are the other factors that are going to affect. Just there's no audio. Just check. So there are two tubes which are being dipped in the same solution. One is a narrow capillary tube. The other one is a wider capillary tube. So in which the liquid has risen to a greater level, to a greater height, the narrow one. So which means the radius or the diameter of the tube also plays a very important role. So if the diameter of the tube is very small, then the rise of the liquid will also increase. So that is what you are going to derive an expression for the height to which the liquid is going to rise in the capillary tube. And later on, let us see what else might be the other factors which are going to affect the height. So, and one important phenomenon you can watch is that when the glass tube is dipped in mercury, normal other liquid solution, you can see the height of the liquid or the meniscus of the liquid in the glass tube will be greater than that in the beaker. But can you see in mercury, there's a drop, right? We do have an experimental setup in the laboratory anyway right now for surface tension. Right, boys? Where you can easily see the magnified, because with your naked eye, when you're looking at the meniscus, you will not be able to see it clearly because the glass tube has a very small opening. But we have traveling microscope in the laboratory, so you can see, you can clearly see the meniscus, a magnified version of it. And it will start your practical session. And one important application of finding the capillary rise is to measure surface tension. Generally, this year, grade 12, the investigatory project has been removed. Might be next year for you, there will be an investigatory project where one of your project can be based on this. That is, when the surface tension, right, indicates the cleansing ability of detergents. You can classify your detergents, which detergent will be having a greater cleansing action by measuring its surface tension, and you can measure the surface tension by capillary rise method. So you generally students bring 4 to 5 different detergents, and then they will conduct this experiment, capillary rise method. They measure the surface tension of each and every detergent, then the cleansing ability can be easily found. So these are the application of your capillary rise method. So start with this, boys. Rise of a liquid in a capillary tube, ascent formula. So now you're going to derive an expression for this. The rise of a liquid in a capillary tube, that will be your heading, an important 3-mark question as your when you go for your theory paper. So look at this. H is equal to 2T. T is the surface tension of the liquid. Cos theta. Theta is the angle between the liquid surface and the glass. Angle of contact you learned, right? You know what is angle of contact, right? So theta is the angle of contact. R is the radius of the glass tube. Rho is the density of the liquid. G is the acceleration due to gravity. Let us derive for that. Fine. The diagram, same diagram. You have a trough or a beaker filled with a liquid, say water. A capillary tube of radius r is dipped in the liquid solution so that the liquid rises to a height h in the glass tube. Two things you have to be very clear about it, boys. One is small r, that is the radius of the capillary tube. Capital R is the, yeah, this.
Ma'am, can you show the previous page for a minute?
Boys, if you can see the right side diagram, you can derive an expression for H using the right side diagram, but it will
Yes,
be
ma'am,
too complicated for you. So we will go as per your textbook version. Right, boys? So you have a capillary tube of radius r dipped in a liquid of surface tension T and density rho. Clear? So draw both the diagram. And this is what is important, boys. When you go for your laboratory, in chemistry laboratory, when you measure the liquid column, right? So always you have to hold the tube or the tube containing the liquid. The level of the liquid should be within your level of your eyesight. And how do you read the readings? The tangent to the curve, right? If the tangent to the curve stands at 5.3 centimeter, then the height of the liquid says 5.3. This is how you measure. So you cannot measure on top of the meniscus. You always have to go for a line which is tangential to the concave surface and see where that tangent coincides with your markings. Right? That should be your reading. So when you go for chemistry in acid-base neutralization, each and 2 decimal places, all those things are very, very important. So your measurement becomes very important. So while measuring the liquid level, it is always the tangent which is drawn to the concave surface. Generally, all the liquids what we use in pipette, when you're using, you use all the bases, alkali solutions like sodium hydroxide, ammonium hydroxide. So it is a transparent, clear liquid. So it will have a concave meniscus. Always the tangent to the concave meniscus, where it coincides with the graduated mark, that becomes the level of the liquid. Yeah? There you should not do any error. So both the diagram you copy down. I'll explain the second diagram as you proceed. So the shape of the meniscus of water. So here a liquid we have taken it as is concave. Now let us consider 2 points. Let us consider 2 points in your diagram. One is point A, one is point B. Now, on which side the pressure is excess? Which is your concave side? Boys, I am considering 2 points. Can you see in figure 1, which I have marked this figure 1? In figure 1, there are 2 points, point A and point B, right? Point B is lying on which surface? Is it convex surface or concave surface? You know what is concave? Okay, yeah. But suppose, so this is convex surface. The outer surface is convex. Right? The inner surface is concave. Now, point B is lying, whether point B is lying in convex curvature or concave. Where is point B lying? Is point
Convex.
B convex. Point A is lying on the concave side of the meniscus. Meniscus means the shape of the liquid. So point A is lying on the concave side of the meniscus. Point B is lying on the convex side of the meniscus. Now where the pressure will be excess? Compare both the points. At which point there will be an excess of pressure? Just now we completed, right, boys? Excess of pressure will be on which side? Excess of pressure will be always on the concave side. Whether the meniscus is whether the meniscus is concave or convex, the excess of pressure is always on the concave side. So which means the pressure at point A will be greater than the pressure at point B. Is that clear, boys? So you have to identify which is the concave side, which is the convex side of the liquid. This is your liquid meniscus. Okay, what is the formula for your excess of pressure? Excess of pressure P is equal to 2T divided by R. Why not it is 4T divided by R? Why not it is 4T divided by R? I can write 4T divided by R. Why is that not only 2T divided by R?
Because there's only one free surface.
What happened? It has
Only
only
one
correct. It has
Surface.
one free surface. One free surface in that sense, boys. Suppose if I have a surface like this, one is exposed to air, right? So this is the surface. This is the meniscus. One side you have air, the other side you have liquid. So it has only one free surface. If at all instead of liquid I would have had air, then it would have had two free surfaces. Here it is only one free surface. So it is P excess of pressure is P is equal to 2T divided by R. Copy down, boys. As the pressure is greater on the concave side of the liquid surface. So the excess of pressure at point A above the meniscus is more than compared to the point B. So P is equal to 2T upon R. Now what is R? It is a radius of curvature of the concave meniscus. Now you should be now very clear about two things, capital R and small r. Small r is the radius of the glass tube. Boys, 1 second. I'll go for an empty slide. Two things you need to be clear. One is the radius of curvature, the other one, well, suppose if I have a capillary tube. Now, this is called the radius of the capillary tube. Are you clear? This is the radius of the capillary tube. So suppose if I have a liquid which has risen in the capillary tube. Clear? So now this liquid is a part of a sphere. So an imaginary sphere. Suppose if this curved surface would have been a part of an imaginary sphere. Here, boys. And this imaginary sphere will have a radius. It's an imaginary sphere. What is this? Liquid surface or liquid meniscus? I'll just write liquid surface. Now the radius of this imaginary sphere is called the radius of curvature. Is this clear, boys? Radius of the capillary tube is different. Radius of curvature of the liquid, R is the radius of curvature of the liquid surface. Sure. Is it confusing? So
No,
R is the radius of, okay. R is the radius of curvature of your liquid surface. Fine. Next, the second diagram. In the second diagram, one second, if I can draw, sorry. If I can draw the imaginary sphere, I'm drawing an imaginary sphere. So now this becomes your radius of curvature, right? Then you know, what's it? Now this is R, the radius of the tube, if you find it difficult. So this point is R. Can you see R over here? That is R. Now what is theta? Theta is the angle between. What is theta? Theta is the angle between. Can someone define me theta? Angle of contact. What is angle of contact? What is angle of contact, boys? The angle between the glass surface and the liquid surface, where there's one phrase over there. When you define your angle of contact, the angle of contact is the angle between. Can I draw this is the glass surface? Can you identify the glass surface? Okay. Angle between the glass surface and then the liquid, this is the liquid surface where at the point of contact. Your liquid surface, because the liquid surface is not plane, at the point of contact, the liquid surface, you have to draw a tangent. It's not a plane surface. Okay? So the angle of contact is the angle between the glass and the liquid surface where at the point of contact. This is the point where the liquid and the glass is in contact. This point. Correct? So if that angle is theta, then will you be able to identify this, boys? So I'm just drawing the diagram once again. This point is O. This is your radius of curvature. This is R. This angle is theta. Geometrically, you know how is it? Just geometrically, just check. I've just drawn the right triangle. What is this angle? If this is theta, what is this angle? What is this angle?
Ma'am, 90 minus theta.
Yes, 90 minus theta. Okay, this is 90 minus theta. Fine, now I'll change. What about this full angle? 90. That is 90. then if I put this angle as x, because I want to find that angle, Now, how will I do that? X, I want to find x. How will I find x? What about this, boys? What about this angle? Okay, 90 minus x. Fine. Okay, now when you add 90 minus x plus 90 minus theta plus theta, the angle should be equal to what? 180. Okay, if you add 180, are you getting x as theta? Just check. Just add 90 minus x plus 90 minus theta plus theta. Okay, I'll add x plus 90 minus x plus 90 minus theta plus theta should be 180. This and this will get cancelled. Then what will you be able to get? Just check. That angle is theta. How will you do that? 90 minus x plus x. Or if I put this as theta,
And if we add all of them, everything gets cancelled.
Yeah. So is that correct? Then it's correct. Okay, fine, boys. So anyway, tomorrow we'll continue and we'll complete this chapter, boys. And as I have told you, once this chapter is being completed, I'll start with oscillations and waves because those are totally different concepts for you as a whole. So I'll start with that. Once we finish oscillations and waves, we'll come back to thermodynamics, then thermal properties, and finally kinetic theory. Because there are certain topics which overlaps with your chemistry, and it would be relatively easier for you when we are rushing through the portion. So waves and